Okay, so we started last week with the Medrash. The Medrash says that when Hashem created the world, He saw that it was Tov Ma'od. And the Medrash says Tov is the Yetzer Tov and Ma'od is the Yetzer Hara. And we began exploring together a topic of really how the Torah aspires and wants a person to utilize the Yetzer Hara as part and combination with the Yetzer Tov in their service to Hashem, to take a person from just being good in their service to God to being Tov Ma'od, to being exceptional in their service to God. And that either one of those on their own really ends up in a dead end for a person. The Yetzer Hara alone will pull you right out of service to Hashem completely. And the Yetzer Tov, for all its pure intentions, doesn't have enough energy and drive and motivation to actually keep a person religiously committed and interested in Avodas Hashem. But when you put those two things together, something incredible happens to the person, and you begin to build an incredible Eved Hashem, which the Torah calls Tov Ma'od. The Vilna Gaon, when he describes this, quite an amazing piece. He says as follows. He says that the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov in the person, they work together like a person who's making wine. The wine is the Yetzer Tov, and the lees, the sediment, at the bottom is the Yetzer Hara. And then he says a little bit more. And he says, if you pour the wine with the sediment, it's disgusting. But you can't make wine without the sediment. It's what adds the flavor and the character and the interest in the wine. What makes it actually special is the sediment. And it's getting the balance of how long you leave the wine sitting on the sediment and what type of sediment is in the wine, what type of grape lees are there, what type of grape was it, that changes the whole flavor and interest of the wine. But if you pour the wine out with all the sediment in it, it's disgusting, it's too much, it's all in the wrong place. The sediment's there to add flavor. It's the icing, it's the extra that makes it interesting and flavorsome. But it's not the part that you drink and consume. So he says that's the function of the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov in our service to Hashem. I thought that's quite a fascinating description, that when you put it in too much, the Yetzer Hara, the whole thing goes disgusting. It's undrinkable, that. But without it, there's no flavor. It's just water. There's nothing there. So the Yetzer Hara adds the flavor in the right balance with your Yetzer Tov. It adds the interest to your life. It adds the motivation, the drive, the juice. But it isn't the central force that moves us. The central force is still the Yetzer Tov. And the Gaon says another very, very interesting thing. He says, Ikar avodas ha'adam im ha'yetzer hara. The fundamentals of a person's service to God is with the Yetzer Hara. With it, alongside you, included. The inclusion of your Yetzer Hara in your service to God, he says that's the fundamental of serving Hashem. So not like we originally think, that we're all big surgeons and our job is to cut out and extract and remove this evil Yetzer Hara that's destroying everything. On the contrary, if it's the driving force in your life, it will destroy your life, no doubt about that. But if the leading force in your life is your Yetzer Tov, and that Yetzer Hara is there to give interest and drive and motivation and consistency into your life, that's with you, it's with you, it comes along for the journey in your service to Hashem, then you create an incredible, incredible servant to God, a Tov Ma'od, a very good person. What the grass says, Ikar avodas adam im ha'yetzer hara. It must come with you in your service to Hashem, but it's got to be the lees at the bottom of the barrel. It doesn't come out when you drink it. It's got to have its place and be positioned correctly. But we shouldn't think that it should be cut out and removed, because then you will be left with the person who's got the best of intentions and no energy to do anything about it. Just can't move forward in your service to God. I want to explore it deeply today. Someone sent me a beautiful message last week after the shir. Wasn't going to go in this direction, but since I got that message, I thought, you know what, I think I must, because I think it'll open up for each of you a very personal spot. But before that, I didn't finish last week the end of the medrash. The end of this medrash is just insane. I don't even know what it means. I searched the whole week for anybody who says anything. I couldn't find anything. That doesn't mean there isn't. But I'm going to share with you today the end of the medrash and my first stab at an answer. It's by no means the answer at all, and for me this is a big work in progress. But the medrash says as follows. It brings the piece that we just learned, that it says, Tov ze yaitzer tov, ma'od ze yaitzer hara. And then the medrash asks, V'chi yaitzer hara tov ma'od? Are you telling me that the yaitzer hara is tov ma'od, is very good? Question in the medrash. And then the medrash says like this. Yes, tov ma'od. Now listen to these words of the medrash. It's insane. She'ilulai yaitzer hara, because if it wasn't for this yaitzer hara, lo ibona adam bayis, a person wouldn't build a house. V'lo nosa isha, and he wouldn't marry a woman. V'lo hoilid, and he wouldn't have children. So far, not bad. V'lo nosa nota, and then he wouldn't have gone into business. End of the, well, then the medrash gives one little piece. It brings a proof from Shlomo Melech. So there's this unbelievable thing the Yetzer Hara is going to get you to do, and that's why it's Tov Ma'od. You know what? Ultimately, it's going to get you into the office. It's going to get you a job. It's going to get you to work. Oh, I didn't think that was like the Tov Ma'od of my life. Are you with me? So the Medrash sees some unbelievable value that's born out of this Yetzer Hara, that through a journey of a person's development ultimately creates responsibilities on him that he can't avoid getting a job and being in business with. And that, the Torah says, is that's unbelievable. That's the Tov Ma'od of the person. Bit shocking, Errol. Hey? I don't know, it's astounding. But I think it's in my own pshat, I'll say again, but the Medrash is lists 4 things. Standing alone, building a house. I think it means having an independent home, marrying a woman, having children, and going into business. And I think the Medrash is telling you that without those 4 things, you just can't be Tov Ma'od. There's parts of your life which are fundamental to the development of your service to God. They're fundamental. The first is that you cannot stay in your parents' home. You can't be there forever. As long as you're dependent on them, you cannot form a relationship with God where you become dependent on Him. It's broken. So there has to be, I'm adding my own explanations in what moves a person. Now, there has to be a desire for independence which a person has. It's a Yetzer Hara. You want to be your own man. You want to be stand on your own 2 feet. You take your first apartment, move out of your parents' home if you're not yet married, and you'll go live alone. Because there's a drive there to be independent. It's not a Yetzer Tov, it's a Yetzer Hara. But it wants independence. But that breakaway from your family is actually what will start your belief in yourself and then your dependence on God. And then you get lonely. Or you have a sexual drive which drives you to have a wife. That produces, now the Torah says, and I'm just going to add, but that relationship, the Torah says, without that relationship, it says, Lo tov yosa adam levad. You can't be tov without that. Alone, you cannot be good. So what drives you into the relationship with a wife? Not because you want to be good. Not because you want to be great and you want to be rebuked and told what you've done wrong and have somebody tell you all the hidden mysteries of the things which you rather not discover about yourself, which they've discovered. That's not what got you into marriage. What got you into marriage was a need for company, loneliness, a place to express a sexual drive, all Yetzer Haras. But it put you into the ultimate relationship which is going to build you in your life. And that relationship produces children. And those children, my Rebbe told me that when he had his first child, his Rebbe pulled him aside. And he said to him, Rabbi Yoel, now there's another reason for you to be a tremendous Eved Hashem. Because there's two little beady eyes watching you. And they're going to learn from you. And your actions are going to mold who that kid's going to be. And so you become a better servant of God because you want to be a role model for the family. And to be the person that the children look up to and aspire to so that they become Avdei Hashem. I hope my wife won't mind me sharing this story. But just so that you get a feeling of this. When my son was growing up, I don't know how old he was, maybe 4. He just one day popped up. He said, you know, Dad, boys like davening and girls like clothes. That was it. Now, how did he know that? Because his dad was always at shul and his mother was always getting dressed. You know, it's like just whatever that he saw, he just watched what you spent time doing. And he started to build a formula of how you build a life. So children create tremendous responsibilities on a person to become much, much more. They demand much, much more of you than what you would have demanded from yourself. And then, at the pinnacle of it all, the Medrash says, and then you've got to go work. Because you can, okay, now, I'm not showing this part of the Medrash, okay, I'm putting my own pshat in, okay? I don't think this person goes to work because they want to make money, desperate, they have a drive for money. Then it would have come at the beginning. It's just obligations. You're just a responsible person who's got a wife that you've got to keep happy and children you have to educate. And if you're a responsible person, you're going to have to live up to those responsibilities and to finance the life that your Yetzer Hara wanted, you've got to go get a job. And that job is going to build you for the rest of your life into a tremendous Eved Hashem. And so the Medrash says, yes, the Yetzer Hara is unbelievable, because if it wasn't for it, you would never ultimately end up in the office. Quite astounding. Just astounding. Now, what I explained to you, that's all my pshat. You're welcome to think of another. But the Torah, what's for sure in this Medrash is this, that the Medrash saw tremendous, tremendous benefit for a person's service to Hashem in each of those 4 things. Having an independent home, getting married, having children, and being in a job. Huge benefit. And the Medrash says it's Yetzer Haras which drive you into those areas in your life. I explained what I think the Yetzer Haras are. There may be others, but it's not your aspiration to serve God that puts you there. You wouldn't do it. Okay, if you had your pure service to Hashem, you'd live in your parents' home, let them feed you, and you're just learning the base Medrash all day, and you keep your mitzvahs, you'd be perfect. What all these things create? Anyway, I'm not going to go into it, but the Choros Levavos discusses 2 tracks of service to Hashem. The one track, he says, is just total isolation and individualistic. You have no wife, no children, no responsibilities in this world, and that has some people that's their destiny, and he explains how you serve Hashem with that. And he says, he describes it, if you have the track, we've got a wife and children, responsibilities and obligations and all these things, and you still have to, there's a way to serve Hashem in that track as well, and he explains you how to do it, but it's hard. It's not like you think like that's the cleanest track to serve Hashem. The Medrash says, yes, it is. Just the Tov in you doesn't pull you in that direction. The Yetzer Hara in you pulls you there. That's the end of the Medrash. It's actually a little piece there, and there's not the end. It finishes more. You can look it up yourselves. It quotes another piece from Shlomo Melech, the Makor for it. He says, it's competitiveness which drives all that. I don't know what that means even. Don't know. Okay. So what I want to do now is open you guys up to some very brave personal work. We're all built differently. But all of us have multiple Yetzer Haras. Good. Is there some honest nods here? Yep. Okay, good. But there's a driving Yetzer in every single person, and it's different. And when you can identify that driving Yetzer Hara, until now, it's been the part of you that you've been embarrassed about. It's the part that you don't want anybody to know. You'd be ashamed to say it out in public. Your wife knows all about it. That, says the Torah, is what could make you tov ma'od. But you've just got to learn how not to be scared of it, and how not to want to kill it and destroy it and push it right out of your life, but actually how to embrace it as part of your avodas Hashem to make you an exceptional Eved Hashem. It is true that part of you is low. It's not something you're proud about. And if it goes on its own track, it will ruin your life, totally ruin your life. But married with your Yetzer Tov, it will make you something totally exceptional, and your flavor in avodas Hashem, the color and flavor that you will have in your service will be driven mainly by that, and it will make you unique, different to all the other people sitting in the room there, because what's flavoring your service is something completely different. So I'd like you guys to take a deep breath, and we're going to go on a journey. I'm not going to explore all of them. I'm going to explore 4 or 5 of the ones which the Sforim say are the dominant drivers of a person, in the Yetzer Hara drivers in a person. And then we're going to work with each one of them over the weeks to show you how the Torah, my goal at the end, first of all, is for you to be comfortable with who you are and to actually embrace the part that God created for you. He gave you it. You didn't get it. You got it. He gave it to you. And you'll see everyone will have something different. Embrace it. Be happy with it and bring it along with your journey. But the ultimate, for me, the cherry on the top of this series of Shurim is to show you how profound the Torah is. Because the Torah has a mahalach for a person with every drive. It encourages you to embrace the drive, and the way that it encourages you to embrace it cures you ultimately of the drive, that you end up being a person whose service of Hashem is motivated purely by love. It's a profound in every area. I'm going to show you it's insane. We've done enough of the groundwork over the last year or so to be able to understand how it all works, but it's insane. But it's the service to God starts when you're able to embrace the low part of yourself. Then you're going to learn, how does the Torah encourage me to embrace this? What actions does it take me to do, which is interesting for that part of me? And those actions will actually slowly dilute that part of me and add more love and reduce the lower part of it. It's profound. I'm explaining to the theory, but hopefully we're going on a lovely journey. Today we're going to do the bitter work, the hard work, okay? Some of you will be brave, some of you won't. For those of you who want the answer to this question, what is the low drive that actually is at the core of who I am? If you can't get it yourself, you go home after the shir. You tell your wife, this is what we learned. These are the options. What will you say? Bam! I had this one guy, I gave this shir in Santon. And the one guy came out of the shir and he said to me, Rov, I know exactly what my drive is. This. His wife was right next to him. She said to him, no, it's not. It's this. And his face went like, he couldn't believe. He said, no, Rolf, no, it's not that. She said, come on, it is. You know it is. It is that. She said, no, okay, maybe a little bit. It was like, nah, come on, who are you kidding? Don't try and make it seem like it's the nicer of the lower ones. It's the lowest of the lowest of the lowest of the lowest. And then you got to just take a deep breath and embrace that, because there's nothing too low. It can all be worked with. Okay. So The simplest one, I think, because we've been dealing with, not the simplest, but we're dealing with all the time, is a person whose the low drive which dominates their life is a drive for money. Okay? Now, you can dress that up in whatever way you want to make yourself feel better about it. So it doesn't feel so low. But it's better if you acknowledge that it's a lower drive, and that's what it is. So one guy says to me, I don't have a drive for money. I want financial success. What does that mean? Self-fulfillment through commerce. Buddy, you want money. Just say it. You just can't say it. So you can't express that, say that it's low. Because it's not nice to say you want money. It's like it's scrub. So you can't say that in public, but you can say you want financial success in public, or you want to achieve in the business world. It's all just nonsense ways of making you feel better that this lowly drive is actually a king. It's high and aspirational and wonderful. You can put books and exclusive books about this drive, and people will actually buy it. But you can't call it that. No. Some people do. Maybe it's quite a crop. Some of the topics, not the most appealing. But that's a simple drive, and it will make you unbridled, destroy your life. Give up everything important in your life. Make you a workaholic. No relationship to family, wife, children, community, mitzvahs. Nothing. You can ruin everything. But with the Yetzer Tov, it can make you an insane servant to God, and we're going to learn how to do that. Okay, so that's option one. Option two, the Mesilas Yesharim, he says this is one of the most difficult. It stays with you till the very end, and that's a desire for recognition. To be admired, to be respected, to be looked up to. And all the actions in your life, every decision you make will ultimately be decided by what's going to get you acknowledged, respected in your life. Okay? We had a award ceremony at work, and there was one girl, she's 27 or 28. She won an award for bringing in the biggest deal of the year. Okay, and she got called up in front of everybody. She won a prize, and afterwards I went up to her. Now she's 28 years old. She's 28 years old, and she won a prize for bringing in the biggest deal. I went up to her and said, "Well done, I'm so proud of you, it's amazing." She said to me, "This was the moment I've been dreaming of my whole life." Amazing. And I'm not saying in a negative way, but it's such a strong driver in a person that you should be acknowledged, that you should be admired, that you should be looked up to, that people should notice you in this world. You'll be 28 and you'll still want it. And I know somebody's 50th birthday, they announced that he won the award for the best salesman. And he was so proud of that. At 50 still, these things don't leave you. If it's the driving force, everybody wants that, by the way, in its right doses. But if it's the driving force of your life, it can take you to not the best places in the world. But that's a very big central driver in life. Okay? So money, acknowledgement and recognition is 2. The third one is, I'm going to call it what you'll understand, and then I'm going to give it its Hebrew name, and then you won't like it so much. Okay? Competitiveness. Okay, you're competitive. You want to be the best at everything that you do. Okay? That's what's driving you. That, the Torah says, is called kinas ish mere'ehu, jealousy. See, because being the best means you're always comparing yourself to other people. Kina is always, how am I compared to you? There's no independent evaluation of self. My evaluation of myself is always compared to how other people are. And that drives most of human productivity. That's what Shlomo Melech says, and the Mesilas Yesharim brings that as well. Most of human productivity is driven by that, by jealousy. Wanting to be better than the other person. And what pains you in the world to come is when that jealousy comes with you. It doesn't leave you, by the way. And you'll get to that world, and there will be people above you who are low-life shlumils in this world, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you left wallowing in your jealousy and competitiveness, and you can't move the position. You're on the podium, and you are 4,777,236th in the world. And not a geschmack feeling. And you're going to live with that forever. Okay? So that's another drive in a person, exceptionally common, that you're driven by competitiveness with other people, which the Torah calls jealousy. People don't like it when you say, no, it's not jealousy. I'm competitive. God, no, you're jealous. You just want to be the best. That means you're always looking around you what other people are doing. Okay, there's other two drives that a person can have. Those first three I think we've discussed so far, those are 100% great drives. They're lowly, but they can be worked with, the Gaon says. You can work with those drives. The next two I'm going to describe, the Vilna Gaon says you can't work with those. These drives are destructive drives in a person. You can't build anything from them. The first is a drive for food. Now, that can drive a person's life. I know a guy, he makes meetings around which restaurant he's going to be able to have lunch and supper at. That's like how it goes. That food is an all-consuming driver of the person's decisions in life. That, the Gaon says, has to be worked with. We'll discuss how to do with it, but that's not a productive drive. That's not something that you can bring with you in your service to Hashem. And much of the Torah's mitzvahs is written to keep that drive in check. When you eat kosher, but it's hard to have that as your drive in life because it's just not much available, and you have to wait 6 hours, and it just makes it an impossibility. Half the time you're fasting and you're not, but it's working on keeping that drive in check, because if that becomes the center of your life, it's distraction. Can't move forward. And the other drive, which is a drive for people, is a drive for sexuality, for women. And that also, the Gaon says that's a very unproductive drive in a person's life, but it can be the drive in a person. And again, we're going to learn how to work with that and how to deal with that. But for example, you see anyway. But could you imagine? But in the Muslim world, what's the ultimate reward that you get for a life well lived? You're virgins. So what's the driving force of that? What are you educating that person to be the driving force of his life? Sex. But that creates a monstrous world. That's not the Jewish picture of Olam Haba. Do you know what the Jewish picture of Olam Haba is? I always laugh at it. It's tzaddikim sitting around the table, which the Gemara says, with crowns on their head, eating fish. The Leviosan, fish. I mean, who wants to go out for fish? You don't want to go out for fish. No, because the food and the fish is not the ikka. The ikka is you're there with God. You happen to all these other things that you have. But it's not the driving force of your life, the food or the sexuality. Those aren't the centers of Jewish life. They're pushed to the side. They can be a person-centered. Don't get me wrong. They can be. And it's something that has to be worked with. And you have to learn how to move it if that is your driving force. But those two are productive. They can't come with you in your service to Hashem. The others, money, recognition, competitiveness, they can come with you very healthily in your service to Hashem. And we're going to learn how to deal with those five primarily. There are others. But I think those are, if we touch on those 5, it will be enough to cover 95% of people's drive and teach you how the Torah teaches you to embrace them and make you tov ma'od. Okay.